All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Bloomin' to You, episode 6.
All right, we've got ourselves some time at the room.
Indeed.
Nanami was very flustered by that whole
maintaining her composure and everything. Mm-hmm. Koito definitely didn't end up teasing her in any way.
No,
not in the slightest.
She not only got that time out of her, but now she has a cheesecake recipe.
Indeed. And a picture. That was a freebie. Just sort of thrown in there.
Kind of ushered in.
Yep.
But yeah, we're headed towards the halfway point of this season. So let's see if we get any new conflicts here, because we are about at that point.
But I am rooting for no new conflicts. Just continue the fluffy, happy, just simple stuff. The conflict is just Koito, figuring out their feelings. Yeah.
So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this.
こんにちは。テストお疲れ様。例えば、私を見て嬉しそうにするこの人を可愛いと思えるようになりたい。
Oh,
okay.
All right. That's the goal
like it.
here. We gotta go from being the acknowledgement that they are attractive in a yes, I can see that you have
you adhere to the societal
that
standards
many would
of
seem to be desirable.
Right.
To the, kawaii,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Actually, do you find that cute is a descriptor that a lot of people don't actually like to be called?
Well, I mean, I feel like I can't speak to that, because guys don't often get called cute, but generally they're probably not going to appreciate it.
Sure, but for the women that you've interacted with and been close to,
I don't know. I haven't had any conversations with them about that.
They never brought up
specifically whether they like the word cute,
or just you call me this or something.
Yeah, I mean
I like when you call me this.
Everybody's going to have their different terms of endearment, that work for them or don't work for them. They appreciate, don't appreciate.
Right.
And that is definitely something that is worth not assuming, and actually specifically inquiring and stuff.
Right. Because some people are call me sexy bitch,
Yeah.
Call me your stallion,
Right. But don't call someone that if they haven't told you to.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how the manuscript could come in.
Mm-hmm. We got entirely debated. And she's like, oh yeah, the manuscript I left over there.
I mean, no, maybe it's that she's been reading it and there wasn't any conflict about it. It's just, it's going to be a thing that's helpful here,
Right. Oh, this is perfect.
Well,
actually...
yeah. This is good.
It's not her secret to reveal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's going to quickly go ask her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was with the cold open, I was very much just oh yeah, there's Sayaka, just.
Oh, she is reading it. Good. Right. There's no nonsense of that trope.
They are different though.
Wow.
What a kind
Monica,
look.
is that you?
Oh, what if it wasn't Maki? Well, no, but she has it at home,
Yeah. I love it when people just say, I wanted to talk to you, and not just say what they wanted to talk about. Yep.
Nothing to apologize for.
先輩なら主役でも何でもトークならいつも通り完璧にこなしてくれるでしょう。私が無邪気に信じてるとでも思った？
Here we go.
佐伯先輩、分かってるわよ。トークの自信や振る舞いは強がりで、陰では必死にプレッシャーに耐えているんでしょう。 それはトウコが望んだこと。生徒会長になるのも。
Doing everything to make her. Yep. Mm-hmm.
あなたはそれを否定して、あの子の邪魔をするつもり？
That's definitely a good faith argument.
Mm-hmm.
どうして劇なんですか？7年前の生徒会長、トウコが生徒会劇にこだわる理由よ。ナナミ先輩のこと見てて、あなたが心配しなくても大丈夫よ。
Not my question.
Mm-hmm.
私がついてるもの。
Oh boy. To be fair, I'm surprised it took this long.
Yep. Oh goody.
Yep.
ちょっと用事あって。忘れ物か？取ったらすぐに返しに来ます。これが6年前。
What do you know? There's one missing.
明らかに意図的に抜いてあった。7年前の生徒会長、トウコが生徒会劇にこだわる理。
And we saw the last name, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
抜いたのはナナミ先輩。言ってくれればよかったのに。いつでもいいって言ったし、ちゃんと読んだよ。読み終わったらもう一度読みたくなって。
Oh.
Damn, that's awesome.
もっと暦の書いたものを読んでみたい。よかった。そんなに心配だったの？
Yeah.
本たくさん読んでる人の意見が一番怖いもん。
Sure.
ほど読んでないと思うけど、その優の評価だったら信用できるなって。
Gonna bring it up?
Yeah.
って興味ある？書いてみたいとか。そんな話あるの？まだはっきりしないっていうか。話を作る練習はいろんなところにしたいなって気持ちはある。
It's a lot of just dialogue. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
そっか。
like you might have to be in charge of scene transition timing and all that, but like it's basically just writing characters talking. Yeah.
ことがあったら嫌だし。
Interesting framing.
7年前の生徒会の。
He's like, why?
ないか。
Oh, he's not aware that there's stuff missing.
Okay.
Ah, so maybe it's like very like a personal thing for Nanami.
どうして？もしか
Yeah.
して。
Remember that? Yep.
やっぱり聞きようがない。ただいま。
Watch, her sister went to that high school 7 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
前にレイちゃんのバイト先にそれが何歳？24だったかな。
Oh,
Perfect.
there you go.
当時の生徒会長は。
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
ナナミと。
Yeah. There we
Okay.
go.
兄弟はいない。
Oh.
今はそうだな。亡くなったんだ。交通事故で。
Oh, shoot.
Crap.
文化祭の直前だった。
Oh, right before too. The play never
Damn.
happened.
Uh-huh.
いつもみんなの中心にいるいい生徒会長だ。
And she's trying to live up to that
Right.
that place of being.
ナナミ姉がいなくなったことで
Yeah.
中止になった。
Damn.
And it makes sense because it would be in bad taste, and also even if someone could do it,
Right.
Yep,
And that's
of
why
course,
she wants to
exactly
bring
like
it back.
her.
She wants to take it back. Yeah.
so that probably wasn't her mom then. That was her older
Yeah.
sister. Yep.
なんかじゃない。怖がりで。
Right. This is the forced persona that she's adopting. Yeah.
そのままじゃいられなくなったから。
Because her sister died.
Right,
Holy
exactly,
shit.
Yep.
自分には戻れない。
Mm-hmm.
同じになろうと努力した末に生徒会長になるのも劇もあの子の意思でやると決めた。自ら望んでそうしてきたんだろう。そうしているんだろう。いつまで？
Okay.
I love how the vibe of the previous episode kind of primed me perfect. I was like, we're gonna get the conflict in this
Yeah, yeah.
episode. Last episode was too calm,
Uh-huh. Too fluffy and
too
happy.
fluffy and silly and specific. And
話はしたいです。
yeah. All right, we're crossing over. Never going back to the way things were before. You know her secret. And it's a really big source of pain potentially as well. So you got to be
Right.
very careful here.
Yeah, she
Goto.
might be expecting something like a bit happier as far as a conversation topic.
Right.
もう少し歩く。はい。
Oh, cool.
久
Okay.
しぶりだな。ここに
Nice. Very, very private. Not,
もう少し歩いて。ナナミ先輩は。
Oh, that was...
there are better ways.
Yeah.
お姉さんのこと勝手にごめんなさい。そっか、知ってる人は知ってるもんね。
Okay, okay. So far, so good.
さすがに隠す
But that,
のは
like,
だったか。
putting distance between them?
Yeah. It's a bit of a safety
先輩
thing.
が劇をやりたいの
Yeah.
姉がやれなかったことは私がやるの。やめませんか。劇、先輩は先輩のままでいいと思います。立派な人になりたいって思うのは、今の先輩は無理してるでしょ。
Yeah.
Okay.
心配なんです。そのままの先輩を受け入れてくれる人は、そういう先輩の方が好きっていう人も、私は本当のあなたを知ってて、それでも一緒にいたい、好きになりたい。
Oh.
そんなこと
Yeah.
死んでも言われたくない。
Oh. Boom. Wow.
お姉ちゃんのことが大好きだった。もちろん私もいなくなったことが信じられなくて。
あんなにいい子だったのに。
トウコちゃん、お姉ちゃんの分もし。
That's good. Yeah. Don't look back.
ミオちゃんみ
But
たいに。
And then she hears this part specifically. Yep. 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 Not live for yourself, but
Right. Oh God.
お姉ちゃんみたいに、私がお姉ちゃんの代わりになろうとも、私がお姉ちゃんみたいに振る舞うと特別だって言ってくれる。私に戻るのは居心地がいい。みんなの前で特別でいることはやめられない。
shit. And I love the framing of this through the reflection of the water.
Yeah.
It's an indirect communication.
劇はやる。たとえ小糸さんがついてきてくれなくても。先輩！
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
Damn.
Yeah, they are killing it with the framing this episode.
私の言うことなら耳を貸してくれるって思ってた。私から離れられないって。
Well, this might be where the taking for granted thing gets brought up.
Yep.
私に誰が好きになれるの？
Ah.
本当は寂しいくせに。誰も好きにならなくていいもん。完璧な自分も肯定されたくないくせに、誰かと一緒にいたいんだ。だから私なんでしょう。
And she
Yeah,
enters
come into
into
frame
frame.
here.
Yeah.
私はどっちの先輩のことも好きにならない。これからも
Only all of you.
Yeah.
好きにならないよ。本当にそばにいてくれる？
Uh-huh.
先輩が私のこと必要なら一緒にいるって本当はどうしてほしいのか言ってください。ユウも手伝って。はい。私といて。はい。甘えさせて。はい。他の人を好きにならないで。私のことを。はい。それから。はい。
Oh.
私を
Fuck. Oh, this is gorgeous.
今日は手をつないで帰っていい？
Oh.
仕方ないな。
Oh.
恥ずかしいんですけど。手をつなぐくらい誰も気にしないよ。好きだよ。ほう。ありがとうございます。君はそのままでいい。私は変わりたい。
Yeah.
嘘をついたのはきっと私も寂しいからだ。
Oh.
Cool. Wow.
Wait, what was the lie?
The whole thing of being able to
fall in
do
love
all
with you?
this basically, because it's like an impossible promise, you know?
Right.
But it's just the idea that like she doesn't want to have to go through this alone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if she's going to learn to fall in love with someone, rather have it be someone that wants to have her by her side and to be by her side, and
Right.
yeah. It's already a scary thing enough to kind of do it when, you know, you don't know what your own feelings are and stuff. But if this person just ferociously wants to be around you, yeah, there's a little bit of taking that for granted, and that she felt that she was going to leave her, and then she's like, no, okay, I'll do anything, you know? And yeah, so that's that beautiful little bit of dysfunction in the midst of the
And the conflict that was brought up was resolved in the very same episode because we don't have time to fuck around.
well, it wasn't addressed. It was basically Psyche just being like, you don't know like what like you don't know her
Yeah.
like I do, right?
No, right. Yeah, yes. So there's still definitely a situation where Sayaka could be problematic.
Right. But her specific thing she brought up.
The disruption that she brought up was
Yes.
taken care of,
Right.
and in fact it brought them closer together. So cool.
Yes, that's also very true. So yeah. I won't fall in love with you. I love the way in which this creator is basically saying, hey, you know the Nanami character? You've seen her 100 times in other romances.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to make her the exact opposite of what you typically think. And so, of course, her love confession comes when her crush says, I won't fall in love with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, end credit scene.
Oh.
ちょっと恥ずかしいんですけど泣くくらい誰も気にしないよ
Repeat?
好きって
Ah.
暴力的な言葉だこういうあなたが好きって
Ah, so it's her perspective here, yeah.
好きじゃなくなるってことでしょ束縛する言葉特別って気持ちがわからないんです好きを持たない君が優しく見えただって好きになりそうユウは実際私をどこまでも受け入れてただそばにいてくれるこの心地よさを知ってしまったら一人には戻れない好きだよ
Ah, yeah.
ありがとうございますこれは束縛
Those are my shackling words, yeah. Yeah.
君はそのままでいい
Oh.
どうか言う、私を好きにならないで
Oh.
Huh.
Oh.
So there's
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This episode was... This is the best episode for me. I think
Yeah?
it's my favorite episode thus far. All right, y'all. Masterpiece. This episode firmly cements this show as one of my favorite romances just right out the gate.
Yeah.
For me, I think the last episode was one where I was like, this feels a little bit kind of like a meh episode. It was just kind of casual. This episode literally was just like, all right, stake in the ground, put it in there. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
see why y'all are
talk
so
about
passionate
that.
about this episode, or not this episode, but this show as a whole. Holy shit!
Because I think I very much enjoyed the episode. I didn't get I don't think I got the same kind of effect that you did.
Yeah. So
let's go into it.
So Nanami is like a very typical, I would say.
She's an archetype.
She's
within anime. Yeah.
She if you looked at her from the surface, she is absolutely an archetype of a very specific type of character.
Yep.
And Koito is less that because we immediately get her first person perspective,
Right.
and we can see that she's a slight twist on a couple specific things within her archetype. But with Nanami's, it's that when you have a character that has I have so much expectations put on me, I need to perform, I need to do things a certain way,
Right.
they then end up feeling like their journey and storyline ends up being something where they have to overcome their external environment in order to be who they truly are. And in this, it's because of both of their desires to be not alone, to be with somebody in the midst of their dysfunction and stuff, to have someone accept them in that moment, they're willing to go and put themselves into situations that are built on some, not lies, but some kind of some scaffolding in order to get what they want out of this. But because they're both coming at this from that same frame of mind here, they're not willing to actually be truly vulnerable in this moment here. So the moment of this being something where Nanami could have leapt forward dramatically as far as character development, this is something where she's actually getting to stay and stay stagnant in a lot of ways of the way that she is because of the person that's closest to her in this situation actually desperately needing her companionship and stuff, and thus her dysfunction, her issues, her identity problems, and all this kind of stuff will actually get exacerbated at some point even more in the future, despite being brought up in such a way. And so the fact that we can have this archetype so excitedly just leap towards a person being like, and you'll do all this for me, this is practically a love confession, yes, this is wonderful, and then it's oh god, but but we've literally
Yeah.
just set up how this is actually all just super fragile and will entirely fall apart as they both start to actually change, grow, and move in a direction that will actually pull them apart from this point in time.
Right, and that's
I love that.
Yes,
I love
and
that so much.
that is a wonderful way to make it so that we can have an actual like conflict to the narrative, so that way you can have an ending, you can have a climax and a build up to that and everything, and tie it in so that the characters are developing while the relationship is developing. And now we have the point of conflict for Koito has been very straightforward in like wanting to understand what love is for herself, and not just
Well, and she's lonely.
right, and she's lonely, and
Yeah.
and now we have it for Nanami, right? Like it's like
Well, we've known what Nanami's motivation was, but we didn't know to what desperation she was at until we found out about the sister here.
Exactly.
We always knew that she had an identity crisis. We always knew that she was desperately performing.
Yep.
We always knew that she was not able to keep up this persona in general, and that Koito was a source of peace in the midst of this
Yep.
in the midst of this struggle. But when she starts basically making these asks of Koito, we went back to check to make sure that the lie wasn't the entire thing. It was actually
right,
just
it was the bit at
the
the
bit
end
of
with
I won't change.
I won't change. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Which is still something that applies to that exchange
Right,
there.
but it's the it's specific, which is very helpful.
Yes.
And now that we had this whole situation, because we know the depths that Nanami's desperation goes and the whole exactly what this conflict
Right.
means to her, that means we can have a much clearer idea of what it will mean for her to resolve it, right? Because if
Yep.
it's like with the way that the story was set up more earlier on, right? This could theoretically be something where it doesn't need to be addressed directly. She just needs to figure out how to live in balance with it. It could be something where it's oh no, this needs to be, very directly, urgently addressed, or like there's all kinds of ways that the story could take it that could theoretically be what Nanami needs, right?
Okay.
But now that we have this, we understand the situation a lot better. And so now, while I'm still not entirely sure the way the story's going to take it, we do have an immediate conflict set up in that she doesn't want Koito to change, but Koito does want to change, and that's maybe the aspect of where Nanami's feelings will need to be, their roots will need to be tested of how deep it can go.
Wait,
Because-
what? Okay, you lost me.
So-
What do you mean?
Because right now Koito is being exactly what Nanami needs. But what
She's
happens?
saying she will be.
No, right. There's saying she will be, right?
Right.
But right now, in the moment, she's being what Nanami needs, right? And when it gets
okay.
to the point where that is not what Koito needs, right? And she starts to do something different, how do you adjust for that, right? Is that something that will actually pull them apart in the way that it very, nearly pulled them apart here, right? And then that's how we can truly know that the bond is a strong one and it'll last and all of that stuff, and that could be a great point for the story to end on.
Wait, why do you keep assuming when the story's gonna
Well,
end?
okay, season will end. Whatever whether this is the story in an absolute sense or whether it's just a small piece of the story, right? I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of conclusion in this season.
Well, yeah. I don't think that this. I think we can almost definitively say that this season is definitely not the end of it.
No, sure, yeah, but having a conclusion has nothing to do with whether or not there's content after this, though.
Oh, okay.
Right,
okay.
like
Sure.
there will be some point where there will be a key milestone of progress that is made by the end of the season, and that's where that's the leave off point, even if there's still more story that can be told with the two of them.
Okay.
But
Gotcha. So the thing that you're bringing up of the roots being tested is saying that the nature of their relationship is just one that's going to be brought up into conflict based on miscommunication that's happening here.
Right
Oh,
now,
okay,
right
well,
now it's convenient. What happens when it stops being convenient?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I feel like that was a pretty like definitively set in thing from the end of the episode, that they were very clearly looking at this from alternate perspectives.
You're right, because they're completely
and
different people.
They're not seeing what the other person is thinking because
Exactly.
of the nature.
Hence why the
Yeah.
retreading of the scene is important from the other person's perspective, because it's so completely different.
Gotcha. I thought you were trying to bring up something new, and that there's a different way they're going to be tested and stuff. But I gotcha. Okay.
Well, no, this is the introduction of that test, right?
Right, yeah.
Like up until now in the story, it hasn't really been present. Like there's been hintings that that might be something that's there, but so far it's been smooth sailing, right? And now we have this, and so okay.
Yeah. The thing that the reason why I love this love story so much right now is because they don't actually have the means by which right now to have a healthy, loving relationship right now. They are actually exploring the inconsistencies and the miscommunications and the uncommunicated expectations as well with regards to what they want individually out of this. They are expressing the desires of what they want. Maybe at least Nanami is for Koito, of what she wants Koito to do, which is great.
Yeah.
Koito is not necessarily expressing the true reason as to why she is putting out, in a lot of ways, for the first time, in terms of verbal promises for Nanami here, and that it's the I was taking you for granted. I started to panic, realizing that you were going to walk away. The way that the episode framed the idea of her skipping across the river slowly but surely, by increment of these stones getting farther and farther away.
Yep.
You can feel that little bit of desperation coming out in Koito's voice, and also the words that she's saying. But then when she kind of leaps back over there, there's a little bit of that hesitation from Nanami, and that she's not leaping towards her. She's basically saying, hey, will you take another step? Will you take another step? Will you take another step? And while I think the micro agreements are really good as far as communication style in a relationship, the reason as to why it's being done and the actual needs that are getting met here are not ones that will necessarily build the beginnings of a healthy relationship. It will give them the opportunity to spend more time with each other,
right,
which will then give them the opportunity to then keep communicating and have that stuff there.
Yep.
But what I love so much about this is that this is basically the creator saying, hey, I'm going to have an anti-love confession.
Right.
And it's actually about their relationship having progress. And so you're giving both maybe three different layers of subversion here, where we have the characters potentially sunder because of a dramatic backstory reveal.
Right.
And it's that actually brings them closer together when Koito kind of fumbles the delivery of this.
Yeah.
Even that's because Nanami is so hopelessly in love with her. But two, then it's we're going to have a not love confession that actually will lead to progress in the relationship. So it's that's not what you'd expect either. But then the third level is but they both are keeping something secret from the other that has nothing to do with the plot secret reveal backstory stuff or anything like that. It's entirely with regards to their emotional needs as to why they're approaching this relationship.
Because they don't want the other person to become distant as a result of finding out about the emotional needs and being like, I can't or don't want to fulfill those.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet, because this is a story about love and romance and relationships and stuff, we're going to have times where the characters will make progress in certain things or undo progress.
Yeah.
But we're also extra focused on these characters coming into who they are, realizing who they are, accepting who they are. And this is the kind of thing where, because of this potential conflict that happened here, we actually had them have to take a little bit of a look at themselves in the moment here. Yes. And even if they're not willing to bring that kind of stuff up, that acknowledgement for themselves is a huge leap forward, at least for us as the audience, with our omniscient view of things.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like in a lot of ways, isn't it like one of the most frustrating things when you see characters in a romance story basically address the elephant in the room of like the plot, but never their own like character motivations and stuff like that. The way in which their their dysfunction or their specific thing is actually done there, because characters.
Hey, why are these two actually ending up together?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's these aren't characters. These are a mishmash of a couple archetypes and tropes put together that, because their hair color is a certain way or because of certain external things, they actually end up together. But the thing that we're exploring here,
and motivations,
we're exploring here is that no, these are characters that will have natural conflict because they are taking each other for granted.
And this is one of the reasons why I brought up the whole idea of the climax conclusion for the season and all that stuff, is because a lot of the times one of the things that bothers me the most in romance is when a conflict that is an external conflict is shoehorned in order to give some kind of dramatic finale.
And it's usually just there to stall progress.
And it's usually just there to stall progress.
Lazy writing.
And signaling to the audience, hey, this is the part where you clap, that can be helpful and all that stuff. If it's not something that's tied to the characters, why do we care about it? Right. Whereas in this case, they're showing us there is a very specific, potentially very problematic conflict that they are not dealing with because they both don't want to, which also makes a ton of sense because they're in high school. And so,
but also just the fact that they think about it. Like, this is a thing that we just don't get a lot in romance stories, because the story is so much focused on things that have but just very little to do with actually what these characters want, need, and or who they see themselves as. You know?
This is one of the reasons why I feel like there's so much being left on the table when romance stories stop at the confession, right?
Yeah.
It's the no. There is so much shit that happens afterwards, right? And
we're getting it.
And we're getting it, right?
That's why I think this episode's a masterpiece, is that we get all that. And then the way that it was presented was so perfect. There were so many just shots of just beauty and poetry.
Up until now, I have been, and maybe after like the first episode or two, there's a decent chunk of time in watching this show where I've been kind of confused with the OP of like, why do they have the thorns and the masks and the mannequin aesthetic and, and things like that? I feel like our characters have kind of gotten past that, right? How is that going to be relevant over the entire course of the show, right? Because they've already gotten very open with each other and stuff. Well, this is a fantastic example of exactly the ways in which they are still not being real with each other and things like that. And so then it's the pivotal conflict for the characters and by extension the show. And so I absolutely see why the OP was made exactly the way it was. But
this is a thing I want to be like very careful of comparing and stuff like that. But I actually really like this storyline specifically with Nanami. The idea of I had a person in my life that I looked up to quite a lot. It doesn't have to be a blood relative or anything like that, but one of the things that is very common, I would say, of kids is that they emulate that person that's their icon,
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a parent, it doesn't have to be a family relative, it could be anybody. But it's usually someone that they spend a lot of time with, and it's someone that they believe to be already kind of similar to them. So the idea that Mio, in this case, exemplifies that just makes a lot of sense. It also implies a couple things potentially about their family unit, which is something I'm excited for them to get into.
Yes.
Because they're cleverly kind of
not
visually
dealing with the parents.
Well, right. Well, not just the parents, just the family unit in general. We literally don't know what Nanami's living situation is right now.
And that could be the story telling us that, hey, it's not relevant. You can kind of get implications, but,
Yes, but what I'm bringing up here is that it's something that is casually being brought up without being directly addressed in Nanami's perspective here. But given that this storyline is focusing on that this person was so powerful in her influence here that when you get the dramatic da-da moment in this episode, it's not for the, I won't fall in love with you. The most dramatic part in this episode is the I'd rather die than hear that.
Yeah.
It's the, oh shit, okay, cool. So anytime a character can give some kind of a passionate display of who they are, even if it's in a negative sense, that's something great, because then
it's a lot being communicated.
It's a lot being communicated, and we can see how the other characters react to it. But the idea that this was so powerful that when a person died in her situation here, she would so casually throw the word death, or die around.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
in
point.
this moment there, adds so much more context to this as well, because she's so casual to it. I've already lost somebody. In a lot of ways, I've already lost myself. I've already died. Why? Yeah, I'll just actually die then. So there's so much about Nanami that was revealed in that beyond the objective point where we get at the end of the episode, that it's kind of the reward for this whole journey here of seeing, oh, this is what Nanami's actually thinking. Like this is Nanami's full perspective here. So having the story be one of where her literal perspective is warped by the act of this person here, and then the actual episode then gives us and now here's her true perspective. We actually had that moment where after all of what she had done had been accepted, then we as the audience get to accept her actual perspective. We actually get that. So I don't know.
Okay.
It's just like multiple different levels of things that I'd love to see in a character where they have an identity-based conflict, and I've seen many iterations of this type of conflict. I think I've seen 3 off the top of my head, and some of them are more extreme with supernatural aspects attached to them. Where it's
to have it actually be some
where you literally put on and become that person and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But the idea that this is one in a much more grounded romance story, I feel works so well for an adolescent coming of age romance story. It just
Sure, and it also is very thematically similar to Koito's situation, because her wanting to understand her own feelings and all of that stuff and lack thereof and everything is a part of her trying to figure out who she is and how she fits into her society and her friends and the world around her and all that stuff. And so the idea that Nanami, even if the circumstances of the conflict are fundamentally different, it's the same kind of conflict. Right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Both of them are struggling very hard to try and make it work, right? When it's not necessarily who they are, right? They're trying to basically prescribe to themselves that I can be this way, right? And hey, I'm rooting for Koito. I hope that she can get her moment, right? Because she really would love to have it, and I can imagine that would be a very while it could still be positive, it would be a very heartbreaking thing if she comes to the conclusion that that's not something I'm ever going to have, right? That there could definitely be a negative point before she reaches the positive point of acceptance of it. And in the case of Nanami, a whole lot of stuff would have to happen before she reaches any kind of acceptance regarding it, and she doesn't have to, right?
Yeah.
It's probably more of a question of when it comes to the point where maybe there's a conflict with Koito, and if it reaches some point where Koito's this is what I want, and I can't actually be this person that you need me to be for you anymore because of this thing.
Yep.
Does that then force Nanami to change, because suddenly it's my way of doing things actually isn't sustainable after all, right? Because the person that I thought would always be there and be the exact thing that I need in order to keep doing this isn't actually going to do that.
Well, she's going to change, yeah.
Right. Because in a lot of ways, there's the aspect of being in love with somebody where, Nanami describes it as being shackles and stuff, because it's you see them as being fantastic in this certain way, don't change, all that stuff. There's also the element of, I love you, and so I care about you, and so please stop hurting yourself, right? I could definitely see that being a thing where once Koito actually falls in love with her, it's I can't watch you keep doing this. This isn't healthy, right? And it hurts me when you're hurting yourself, so I need distance, or something like that. But
yeah, there's a phrase I remember you brought up in a completely different context, but I think it applies really well in that case, is the love demands. And you can take it into a wrong context for sure, but in the context that I think it works really well here is that when you share so much with somebody in that regard, there's going to be times where their actions indirectly like affect you.
Yep.
And so there's this aspect of where you're like, hey, like I want to see you thrive. I want to see you in the best possible way. I can't see you, being stuck in this pattern here. Like, please let me be involved and, insert myself into that situation here because we're so close.
Yeah.
And if it's especially one that gets reciprocated, which is what Koito wants here. Koito is upset with herself for not being able to reciprocate in this situation here. That is a point of at the very least frustration. I don't want to stake it to be any more than that, because I feel like that could get into a little bit too much of a pigeonholing Koito as a character. But I do feel like this area of frustration is one that, because she's kept it so solely focused on herself, it's not an issue in the grand scheme of things. But given that we have a differing desire, specifically with Koito in this case, as to where Nanami wants her to be and where Koito wants herself to be eventually, that's going to create friction eventually. And I'm a big fan of natural growth of people leading towards moments where romance gets mechanical in a way that feels off for the idyllic young kids that they are.
Right.
So it's what happens when love matures, basically. It's the idea of like, love is found in the choices. Love is found not just in the doki doki. Love is found actually in the things that maybe Koito, I keep mixing their names up. Koito doesn't value as much yet, in that she's kind to Nanami. She's offering so much of her
that's
effort.
Huge,
That's huge. That's love. That is love. It's there's a difference.
Love in action versus love in feeling.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Love is too complex to be relegated to one word. The Greeks figured that out, but like there's so many ways to express love that you can also be in a situation where you both express love very differently and receive it very differently. But because of that makes it actually even more important that you choose to specifically communicate said love in a way that person will receive, will understand as love.
Yeah.
And so
you just communicate in the way that you understand. That's not
right.
That's not special, right? Like
right.
That's,
No.
It's like, I mean, cool. That might be a decent place to start if you just don't know yet, right?
Or it sounds like a nice fairy tale, and that you can have that wonderful, beautiful summer of everything just working and sparkling wonderfully. But then it's going to get a point, and I just love that we're starting here in that we already know that that's going to be the conflict at some point, and it's going to be a part of their maturation and growth. So
in a lot of ways, I was kind of surprised that what Koito said with the "I'm not going to fall in love with you" or "I'm never going to fall in love with you," with the on the rocks when she was like going back towards Nanami, that was actually something that was so perfect for Nanami to hear. The fact that later she's like, "Don't ever fall in love with me." She's thinking it and stuff. I'm like,
did she take it too literally?
Well, not really, but like the idea that maybe.
Well, but I think you could definitely miss the point of what Koito is saying if you took it like 100% literally.
Right, but more just the idea that twice now we've had situations where Koito says something and it ends up being the exact thing that Nanami wanted to hear. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Where with the I don't have anyone special. Right. And then I'm never going to fall in love with you, which kind of is saying the same thing.
Yeah, they're both truthful things that come from a deep place for Koito.
Right, but for Nanami, it's that means so much. And in the first one, it was pure happenstance. In this one that we got here, I could almost see it being something where Koito had a feeling that was going to be what she wanted to hear or needed to hear.
It's possible. But I do think that they're close enough to where she could think about that, but we didn't, because we got so much internal perspective. I don't think that's actually the point.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think that was very much a thing that she said because it came from something within. It wasn't just I'm reading her and she needs this right now.
Theoretically, you could say that it was Koito actually attempting to draw up boundaries, because in this situation, the fact that Nanami immediately went to the "I'll do it even without you," that was kind of jumping the gun in a sense, right? Like Koito mentioned, like, "Hey, I don't really want you to do this thing. I think it's bad for you," right? And then it's immediately the "Okay, I'll pull away. I'll do it without you." That very much gives me the vibe of overreacting because of how like strong your feelings are about this person.
Sure.
So then you make a bigger deal of something than what it actually is.
I mean,
and so it's
a big deal to her.
No, right. I'm not saying this to downplay Nanami's feelings about the matter, but to say that I think Nanami might have been overplaying what Koito's feelings were on the matter. If that makes sense?
No.
Like, so if she sees what Koito's doing as basically saying, because you're not agreeing with me on this, right? Because you're having your first moment of actually disagreeing with me and having any kind of confrontation when you've been very soft and kind of gone along with, whatever I wanted.
Which is what she kind of wants, yeah.
Yeah, which is what she kind of wants. Then it's the, okay, fine, I'm going to distance myself from you because that is something, the idea of that hurts me. And so now I will move away from you in order to make sure that, I'm okay.
I'm just protecting myself.
No, right, exactly. But I would say, like, a lot of the problems that you can run into in relationships is when you move to protect yourself, and that might be and if you think you need to protect yourself, I mean, go for it. But if it's something where the other person was not actually like,
but that's why it's all about communication.
Exactly.
I don't think that means that she's doing it manipulatively. I don't think she's doing this for some like goal to get.
Not saying that Nanami was doing it in any kind of manipulative way, but that it's something where that not manipulative, but I don't know.
It sounds like you're saying it was manipulative. That's what I kind of got the thing there, because
lost a bit of my train of thought. It's so she says the thing that is I'm never going to fall in love with you. If Nanami kind of assumed the worst in this situation, right? Because Koito is someone that she cares about so much and has such a big effect on her.
Well,
right?
She's also not wanting to be lonely, so there's like a selfish reason to it as well.
Totally, that too. Yeah. But also the basically, we get the her not wanting to be lonely later, and so maybe that confirms that that's kind of what was at play.
Yeah, I think we also got it in the scene too. Like that was That was part of her. I'm pretty sure she basically,
Right, but I'm more not that she wouldn't want to be lonely, because I totally get the idea that she would want Nanami to come back. But the fact that she would have came to the conclusion that the way that I'll get her to come back is I'll say I'm never going to fall in love with you. Right? Like it was the perfect thing to say, and I'm trying to figure out what would be some of the ways in which Koito might have been, because like we were talking about, I don't think she fully understood that was going to be the perfect thing to say to Nanami,
I definitely think that she took the situation as it had been presented, did not treat her special in any way with her words.
Sure.
She did not give her any deference or preference here. She basically did this like she was talking to one of her friends at her bench and stuff. And she was just basically like, well, you always want to be by my side, so you won't pull away from me for bringing up this very, very uncomfortable, very emotionally charged situation. And then realistically, Nanami just goes, yeah, I'm going to do some distance here. I'm going to put some distance here. But she puts on the face of the deference, preference, being kind of kind with her words here because she is in love with Koito. And then Koito goes, oh shit, did I do something wrong? Like, wait, if I can't be with her, who else could I learn to love? Oh no. Kind of panics there and then does I know you're actually lonely. And which is true, yes. But it is also a thing of where it's the, no, you're kind of also projecting a little bit in that you're the one that's lonely as well.
The usual saying would be
kettle black, you know?
Yeah, there we go. I was going to say game recognize the game, but I'm like, no, that's not the right one.
Yeah. And so she pulls the, hey, like, I'm going to be as honest as possible here. I'm going to let you know, like, I'm not capable of falling in love with either side of you. And this is who I really am.
Right.
Please accept that side of me. Mm-hmm. And
but I think this is so I think this was the thing that I was kind of like I was on the trail of. Mm-hmm. She's diffusing the pain for Nanami. Right? Because if Nanami is seeing this as being something where it's my entire life revolved around this big change that happened, and I can't let go of that because that's now kind of who I am, right? Oh, the person that I'm in love with, I think might be saying,
I need you to change.
Which I'm not willing to do, and so I'll distance myself. Koito is then saying, but I'm never going to fall in love with you, so you don't need to worry about that. You know? Like, we can just be friends, and yet, but we also do very much need each other, want to be with each other, et cetera, and then all the stuff that after that happens ends up happening.
Right. But by the fact that she's saying, I won't fall in love with you, that's basically saying, oh, cool, you won't be shackled by my words, by my love.
Right.
Therefore, you won't have to change.
Exactly. And yet she didn't even realize, like Nanami hadn't mentioned the whole shackles thing.
Right? No, that was at the end.
That was at the end, and even then it was, I believe, something that was just in her head.
Well, no, yeah. Everything after that is all to give us an internal perspective of what's going on with.
And so,
with Nanami.
Koito, you said exactly the thing that Nanami needed to hear. And,
right.
Yeah.
And that's where you could look at it a couple ways. It's convenient, but it's also maybe expected because of how much she does actually know exactly who Nanami is. So it's no, actually that's love.
Yeah.
That's just I actually finally added some honey to my words to let you know I care a lot about you, so I'm going to speak from the heart in a way that I know that will help you. It's not being dishonest, but it is not necessarily being manipulative either. It's a thing of saying like, hey, I am speaking to your heart right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a sense of calm in that I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to in a lot of ways, I'm not going to demand anything of you at this moment. I want to be with you. That's what I want. I'm not going to fall in love with you. I'm not going to shackle you. I'm not going to tie you down to any like specific image of a thing in my head for you.
Which also means if someone moves away, it's going to be you.
True.
Right.
But also it's the little bit of lack of vulnerability in that the main reason why I'm doing this though is because
I want to fall in love with you.
Well, I want to learn to fall in love with you, and I'm scared of doing this with anybody else.
Right.
You are the person that I would most like to do that with. And of course, everyone would like to be in that situation with Koito. I would never blame her for this. Like, the kind of situation that she's in is one that is amazing for most people in high school because most people don't have someone so ferociously chasing after them and in love with them. That's such a wonderful thing. Now, it's obviously all immature and
there's all the messy aspects
of it. Yeah. But yeah, that's a whole thing. And then also, you don't really know her well enough to make demands of this specific area, you know, Koito. So the fact that you kind of took the step back after this is just, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
That's a good idea. And maybe next time, you know, if there's something like that, just say, hey, so I heard about your sister. You know, right? Like,
or like, hey, see, I maybe I'm asking for too much, but I'm all about permission. I want to hear people in anime fucking say, hey, I have something that's really hard that I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
And it's about your family. And it's going to involve a lot of pain and emotions and stuff. Do you feel like this is a good time to talk about that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
And it should be like, no, it's not a good time. Or, oh, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if she says no, you know, if it's something that's important to you, then maybe she could think, okay, well, I don't want to talk about it now.
Can we get a rain check about that then?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really important for me to bring up.
Because, again, with their dynamic up until now. Nanami has been like, holy shit, I'm head over heels for this girl.
Yeah.
And then the girl that you love says, hey, can we talk about something really important? And then takes you to this beautiful spot by the river, right? Nanami's probably thinking, wait a minute, has it finally happened? Oh my god. Oh my god.
Hey, you know your sister that
You know
died?
your dead sister? Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, what about her?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you mean me? That's just me. I'm
Yeah.
the sister that died. Yeah. Oh man. But
oh boy.
I also loved the love is a violent word bit. This is something that I was kind of excited to bring up in the discussion here. I love when people attach personal experience-based attributes to words that are already multi-complex, multi-natured, and all this
Okay,
stuff. And love is basically the most complex word in terms of actually defining what it is.
It'd be
that we
real hard
have
to
as the-
beat.
as far
Yeah.
as the human experience goes.
And especially when you're talking about a language that only has a single word for it.
Yes, exactly. I would love to know what the difference is maybe in Japanese. Yeah, exactly. But the idea that she says love is a violent word in that she sees it as something that restrains, something that shackles here. But that aspect of it being something where if love is something that is in and of itself something that's scary to her because it shackles in that regard, the idea that she uses it so ferociously and aggressively actually shows the little bit of emotional pain and not hypocrisy because she's young, but it's the messiness with which she has with the idea of love to then use it in such a way to then be a shackle for somebody else.
Right. Yeah, I think
That's
hypocrisy is a fair word, right?
It's fair because Psyche exists. And eventually we're going to commiserate with Psyche because that's the thing, is that Psyche was an earlier romance. And the thing is, you get better at romance over time, and some people get you when you're not your best at it. And I do not want to throw Psyche completely under the or Sayaka.
Sayaka?
It's Psyche
okay.
or Sayaka. I think it's Psyche, Sayaka, but one of those two, basically. I did not want to completely throw her under the bus because she was initially just antagonistic a bit towards Koito here, because this side of Nanami is the most objective side of Nanami that we've seen thus far. It's not colored by any perspective of Koito's or anything like that. So I can already see the mental and emotional imagery of Psyche feeling that leftover like bruise marks on her wrists, of like feeling like she was shackled at some point by she was taken prisoner, if you will, by Nanami, and then is like, oh, and now I'm just left in forgotten here. I just want that to be explored. It's something that it's something that I see the hypocrisy in it here, which means that it was stronger at a point in the past, and thus that's where Psyche's pain.
In case it makes it easier, I don't think it's been stated that they actually were ever in a relationship. That it's very much obvious that Sayaka is in love with Nanami.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the fact that Nanami either is completely oblivious to that or is choosing to ignore that.
Well, okay, but there's been multiple things said that she's been with many different people. Nanami has had many different relationships in the past. That's a part of the story that we've had thus far. So
wasn't it? Well, okay, not to get into details of remembering past things. I remember it being that she was confessed to a shit ton, but she had never actually accepted a confession.
Oh, maybe that's what it is then. Maybe that's what it is then. Okay, then I might be getting confused with this here. I'll have to go back and check.
Yeah.
But basically,
I feel like I remember the thing that you were talking about, though, that she has been in a relationship at some point.
Yeah,
But,
we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, this is my favorite episode thus far. Absolutely cements my love for the show as a whole. I think it's perfect.
And it does
God,
a wonderful
good.
job of setting expectations
So much down
and
the
setting
line.
conflicts that we will care about, because it directly involves these characters and who they are and how they feel and think and all that stuff
Yep.
for potentially the whole rest of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot gush enough about the way that this show, like you're saying, set up things so well. Now all it just has to do is follow up on it.
Yep.
So wonderful. Your only obstacle is yourself now. So,
Right.
so
But
just
you set a high bar, you know.
yeah, just keep it going. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out my Baldur's Gate 3 Let's Play on Twitch, and if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.